Fake Chronicles. Tonight we have Patrick Prouty, bassist, composer, all around hustler, as he calls it.
Thanks for having me, Ted.
Absolutely. Thanks for
This
doing
is a
this.
treat.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say something that I wanted to say for many years. Hey, I'm a friend of the pod.
Yeah.
Always wanted to say that.
I should get bumper stickers.
Should.
I'm a friend of the pod. Yeah. Like if you donate some money.
Right.
So, so you are a very busy man. I've known you since high school. Um, and and we spent some time apart, and then but now knowing you in the recent years, you are very busy.
Yeah.
You have a lot of projects going on, correct?
Yeah. To make a living as a musician, 2025, it's hard to do it with one income stream.
Yeah.
So I'm a freelance bass player and make part of my income that way.
Uh-huh.
And I write film and TV, make a little income that way, and then I teach too. I'm the choir director and orchestra director at University of Detroit Jesuit High School.
Okay. And you also did the music for our opening montage and our end credits.
Yes, I have the distinct privilege. Thanks for using my tune. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, so you didn't write it for the credits. I took it from
Yes.
something you've done. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Take two, they're small.
All right, great. So, a little bit of background. You went to Wayne State.
Proud Wayne State grad,
Mm-hmm.
and was just honored with an invitation to speak at Orchestra Hall at its Salute to Detroit concert. And I was thinking two things. One, just how honored I was that my old school asked me to talk, as if I have something to say. Right?
Yeah.
But the funnier part was, did they check my transcripts?
Right.
Because,
But
you know,
didn't they ask you years ago for multiple years to be the dead man in a casket? What was that?
oh my
Old man.
gosh.
What was
I
that?
hadn't thought of that since
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, it was a Wayne State music tradition, I think. Like, I think it was called Old Man Winter. And like somebody would get in a coffin and we'd do a parade from like
Yeah.
the old music
And that
buildings.
someone was you, right?
I think I was the guy at least once. Yeah. Oh, now I
That was
want to
a
go
while
home.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But now you make me want to go Google that and figure out all the details of that. So, wow, yeah, Old Man Winter.
They
Was
wanted
right
you.
about,
Yeah,
right
they
about
wanted
this
you as
time.
a dead man back then, and now they want you as a.
They tried to kill me the first time.
Yeah. What you were you toured with the great Betty Lavette.
Yeah, that was.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was a fantastic time in my life. We did 25 trips to Europe between 2001 and 2007. And
25. Oh, I didn't know
yeah, that was a lot of airplanes for many years there, but it was wonderful. Betty is as good as any singer, soul singer on the planet.
Oh yeah, she's great to work with too. We had her here for the Blues Festival for the Detroit Music Weekend.
Yeah, I was thrilled to be in her band, and also like a special place in my heart because I saw her finally get the notice and the acclamation because it had eluded her for years. Aretha, Eartha Kitt. These singers would you know be skyrocketing up the charts, and Betty was as much of a singer as anybody, and couldn't quite get the momentum. But I was there in her 60s, where she became, the industry darling.
Yeah.
And every night I put my bass on, and we'd go up on stage and play the first warm up tune. Everything's going good, and every time I'd hear her sing that first note, and I'd hear it come back through the monitors, goosebumps.
Yeah.
Every time, and just like think to myself, how lucky I am to be this close to like an architect of soul music, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, I love my time with Betty. So
Wow, I didn't know you went to Europe that many times with her.
yeah, she's
Yeah, because she played the cafe.
okay.
Um, you weren't in the band then. Chuck Bartels was.
Okay.
She was doing a lot of Dylan covers.
Yeah, I think she did a whole record of
Yeah,
Dylan
yeah. It was
covers.
right after that album came out. We
Okay.
booked her.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
fantastic. One of my musical mothers.
yeah,
So,
yeah. One of them. Do you have others?
oh, I've learned from so many,
Yeah.
mentors.
Talk about that a little bit. Your mentors.
Um, I've just had so many great ones, and I don't think I have a lot of talent, but what I do think I have is the ability to seek out people that have the wisdom and listen to what they say and follow them. Professor Russ
That's
Miller.
talent right there.
Well, or it's I just notice other people that make mistakes and go, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I modeled my career off of guys who were full-time musicians who were raising families,
Hmm.
and a guy like Russ Miller, who just retired from the music department, Wayne State. He was a big one,
Okay.
and yeah, there's so many. I have to talk about Johnny Bassett, the great Johnny, the greatest blues guitar player ever. I was in his band. I was very lucky to have that mentorship with him musically. And then Bill Hyde, the great Bill
Oh yeah.
Hyde, really taught me how to play.
You're bringing them back to the
He's
cafe in May.
yes, he's
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is truly my musical father.
It's always a joy to have him
He
at the
is the
cafe.
most unique human I've ever
Yeah.
met. Yeah, I love him. He's one of my best friends and like a second dad.
Yeah.
You know.
The way he interacts with the audience is I mean just that portion of the
Yeah,
show is fantastic.
yeah, he is. He's so unique. He's so authentic, and he's a little bit of a throwback. He's a incredible jazz musician, right?
Yeah.
But he's also got a little bit of Carnival Barker in there, a little bit of like, you know, showman. He
Yeah.
connects with the audience. It's us jazz guys. If we say two words from the stage, the audience is lucky because we're
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
important and we can't talk about our
He's
music.
quick on his feet with
He's
his
quick on his
words.
feet, and
Yeah.
people go to hear him play as much as they go to hear the shenanigans that come out of his mouth.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
The most politically incorrect human of all time. But yeah, another guy that mentored me. I'd play gigs with him. I had no business being on stage with him. I was terrible,
Yeah.
but he liked me, and I was willing to drive to the gig, right? And so
That's a plus.
here's an opportunity. This is what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough to play with him, but I was good enough to drive him, right? So I had my shot, right? So I was going to listen to everything he said and do just what he told me, and then I just became his bass player. So
That's
and
great.
he would he'd push me, like we'd get on the gig and he'd say, "Do you know this tune?" And I'd say, "Yeah." He'd say, "Okay, we're not going to do that." "Do you know this tune?" I say, "Yeah, I know that one." He's like, "All right, we won't do that." He'd pick a tune I didn't know
Yeah, on purpose,
on
right?
purpose, just so that I'd have to stand on my own 2 feet, and that's that's an education.
That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, tons of mentors. I think that's been my biggest key to success is paying attention to the guys who are the
Yeah.
real deal.
Did you do any albums with him?
Yeah, I played on a couple of his, and then he played on mine, Rust Belt from 2009. So,
Okay. Who else was on that album?
let's see. Rust Belt was me and Bill Hyde and Bill Higgins on drums, and Scott Peterson, E-Dog,
Hmm.
who passed away about 10 years ago. He's another, Scott Peterson, saxophone player from Detroit. He, uh, he passed away from cystic fibrosis, and he had a double lung transplant, and he dealt with the cystic fibrosis symptoms for years and years and years, and just he was just such a hero because he was always kind of suffering, but you never heard him complain or um, not show up for a gig. And he was one of the guys that was in like the Bill Hyde kind of clique.
Yeah.
And yeah, I miss Scott Peterson. He was the greatest.
Yeah.
So
Um, I do want to talk about you have a project called the Detroit Office of Civil Defense. Do I have that name right?
yes, that's the name of my band. I
Yeah.
decided I wanted a band,
Okay.
and I'm
I was
obsessed.
very pleased to see that you were doing something.
Oh,
Like, I'm very pleased.
I'm a Detroit history nerd, and I've always loved the Cold War imagery of the civil defense. And my Grandma Prouty, my dad's mom, was a block captain for the civil defense in Detroit. And so if there,
What is block captain?
well, like when the bombs are coming, you know what I mean? She's organizing the neighborhood, how to
Oh,
get, so she had this helmet that had
okay.
CD. And I've just always like found that stuff really
Uh,
interesting.
yeah.
And the Detroit Office of Civil Defense is right off of Woodward. It's near where Palmer Park Golf Course used to be.
Okay.
And I've just always been obsessed with the sign and the place and
Yeah.
the. So yeah, so that's the band name.
Okay. Talk about the band because it's from what I've heard. It's very interesting musically.
It's I think so. It's a vehicle for me to write tunes, and so um, the current lineup now is Julian Van Slyke plays drums, veteran Detroiter. Phil Kelly, another veteran piano player. Ingrid Racine, she's a trumpet player from Ann Arbor, fantastic. And my daughter, Noelle Prouty, who's a saxophonist and a bass player and a music phenom and has perfect pitch and has more talent than me
Mm.
and et
I wonder
cetera, et
where she gets
cetera.
that from.
Not from me. So that's the band. So
But there's an idea behind the music, isn't there? Like,
yeah, like it's twofold. One, it's like telling Detroit stories. You know what I mean?
mm,
And the second thing is themes of social justice intertwined with that. So there's like a focus to the music that's just not, I'm not writing a bunch of jazz tunes. You know what I mean? I'm trying to, like, we got a tune called Michigan Central Station. And I tried to capture, the feeling of the place, the history, the heaviness of it. And for guys like you, that building was abandoned our whole adult lives until
right.
recently. And so I tried to paint like a sonic picture of what it felt to stand in front of that building and think of like my grandparents came through here. All these people came through here to get jobs in Detroit. And so I tried to capture that musically. And now I listen to the tune, but my vision of the Michigan Central Station is now different. It's this glorious
Yeah.
like symbol of what can be done. And the tune sounds different to me now. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the DOCD, Detroit Office of Civil Defense, is just my friends putting up with my playing my tunes about Detroit,
Okay.
essentially.
Is
So
it just your tunes? Because I saw something on your website that said a production with Julian and
Yes, as of right now, the latest incarnation is all my tunes. But he and I did a few things a couple of years ago, um, like a pilot, did a couple of demos.
mhm.
So he and I want to start that up again, as I love working with Julian, but just
Yeah.
working three things to pay
Yeah.
the bills doesn't give you a lot of time to just do,
Yeah.
everything you want to do, obviously.
How long has this project been going on?
The DOCD thing has been kicking around for like about a decade, but only since COVID have I been actively like pursuing and booking the
Yeah.
band and being a band leader.
Okay. You want to talk about the show you have coming up?
Yeah, I got a big show coming up. It's March 22nd at the Penn Theater, and tickets are available online. Just Google Penn Theater, or you can get them at the door. Um, I, I know this sounds self-serving, but
Yeah.
tickets are going fast actually. So if you do want to go,
Act now.
act now. So that'll be that instrumentation I just mentioned, and we're going to be playing a bunch of tunes off of all my records and a couple of new things too.
Okay. And this is at the Penn Theater in
Yeah, the Penn
Plymouth.
Theater in Plymouth. Yeah, Penn Theater is now doing
Yeah.
music.
Okay.
They have a jazz series. I think so far it's just twice a year. And so I forget who was there last fall, but anyway, our band's doing it this time around. So
Okay. Do they
yeah,
still do movies? Or is it
yeah,
just,
yeah. They still do movies, and it's still like super affordable and cute, and
huh?
yeah, great like date night spot.
Yeah.
Can I digress for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, let me digress for a minute.
I,
So we're talking about Plymouth, right?
I, I, I think I know what you're going to say, because if you don't say it, I'll say it. All right.
So I was thinking about, well, I've got this gig at the Penn Theater in downtown Plymouth coming up, and I was just brainstorming, like, well, like, what would I tell like, what would I say to the audience? Just some ideas to connect, right?
Hmm.
And I thought, you know, where I really learned to play music, right? When you really sand down all the layers,
Hmm.
it was playing guitars with you in downtown
Oh,
Plymouth
this is what
trying to meet girls.
walking up and down Main Street.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And yeah, I got a couple of,
Yes.
yes, that was some of the greatest times of all time.
Yeah.
Um,
We'd
down,
walk with a couple acoustic
yeah,
guitars up and down. It was Main Street, right?
Main Street,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, Main Street.
Yeah, we'd play in front of the park, or we'd play at a
Yeah.
park bench, or we'd play in front of that Taco Bell that, you
Yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
that was so fun.
God, I remember that.
And the real music theory textbook, of course, was that Beatles
Beatles chord book.
songbook that we
Yeah.
had. And we learned all the tunes. I learned all my chords out of that book.
That's how I learned music theory. Was from that
That's
book, studying. Yeah.
it's sitting right in front of you,
Yeah.
right? Those chords and those amazing melodies, and yeah, that was, man, that was a good time.
Yeah.
Let's go do that again.
Yeah. Wow. Those are the days.
Yes.
Yeah.
So downtown Plymouth,
So,
March 22nd. Come join us. It'll be a good time.
okay. And then you have another show coming up.
Yes. So back in September, I was bestowed the title, or given the title, of Detroit's Composer Laureate. And so
The first ever.
the first ever,
Correct?
yes,
There's never been one.
never been one. And um,
Yeah. Before we get to the event, can you describe
yeah,
what it is that entails?
okay. So the mayor's office, along with the, oh, I'm going to mess up the name. I'm not even going to try. It's a committee that's working on the arts and culture in Detroit. And they decided that they wanted a laureate program. So they decided they want a historian laureate, a poet laureate, which is the one
Jessica Care More.
right, Jessica
Yeah.
Care More, and then a composer laureate. And so they sent out it was just like a job posting, and you applied for it, and luckily I got it. So my mandate is over a 2-year period to tell the story of Detroit through music. That's my first. And the second thing is to mentor young musicians and composers in the city. So the Laureate team and I have 3 projects that are coming up. Um, I can't say too much because all the parties involved haven't officially signed on, and I don't
Hmm.
want to talk out of turn. But one is a really like the biggest piece I've ever had to write. It's going to be for big band and strings and a choir. So,
Oh,
and it's based on some Detroit history. And next week I should be able to put on social media. This is what I'm working on. So,
okay.
so I'm writing a big piece. And the second thing is I think I can talk a little bit more about is we're developing a pilot program of a digital music lab for students. So like there'd be 12 stations that would have MIDI keyboard, digital audio workstation, monitors, um, you know, obviously computers, and then we'd have courses like um, mainstream music writing. Like how do you construct a beat? How do you construct a bass line? What's the music theory behind, simple diatonic chords?
Okay.
And then more advanced film scoring, video game scoring. And so this would be a pilot program this summer that we're developing. And
And this is for uh, after. Is it after school? Is this
this
for
is this
anyone?
would be a summer program during the day, and it's going to be for Detroit high school
Okay.
students, um, as long as they're residents of the city.
Yeah.
And I I'm real excited about that project. I teach at U of D, and so many times these students come up to me and go, "Hey, Mr. Prouty, let me play what I wrote." And they'll play me they'll open up Logic and just play me with their, and it's like so sophisticated and slick, and motific development, and the sounds are good, and the mixes are good. I'm like, you're what? You're 14? How do you know how to do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like trying to identify people that have that, you know,
That's fantastic.
and support them in a way that maybe their school can't, or computers, MacBooks are expensive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Sure.
And so that's the plan, is digital music making for Detroit youth starting this year. So we'll see how that shakes out. We're still planning, and we're close.
Okay.
So
So this goes on for 2 years.
yeah,
This.
2 years.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah,
Yeah. Is there a website where somebody can go to see where these programs are?
if you,
Um.
I guess this isn't very scientific, but Google
Yeah.
Detroit laureates, and I think it's the Cultural Affairs Office. I don't know.
Yeah.
Google laureates. They have a great newsletter that comes out every month that says all the different things that are going. Like Jessica Care Moore has got a poetry reading and a book unveiling coming up, and
Hmm.
John Jordan, the historian, he's got like something going. Like I want to go to everything that he does, and Jessica's, but because I'm a history buff, Jaman has these like great talks about Detroit history, and so and the three of us are going to collaborate on something together, which is
Oh wow,
exciting too.
that's great.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so blessed and lucky
Yeah.
to to have this opportunity.
Yeah. Jessica's great. She's a friend of the cafe. We've had her here
Okay.
multiple times. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So now, Cafe Chronicles, what we kind of do is try to extract from your brain something that's happened to you at the cafe, or music hall for that matter. Um, an event you performed at, someone you've seen, something that happened to you in a parking lot. I don't know. You know,
Uh,
so,
um,
is there anything that comes to mind? Like some,
yeah, I got a huge one that
yeah.
comes to
Oh,
mind.
all
Okay,
right.
and it's a new one. All right, it's
Ooh,
brand new. So my daughter Noelle is playing saxophone, right, and she's really serious about it, and she is absolutely fearless when it comes to jam sessions and sitting in with people.
yeah. She's
And
here all
she,
the time. Like,
right,
yeah,
and she loves Aretha's jazz jam, and she goes to other ones, not but she loves the vibe here, right? People that come to the jam, and she's just she just wants to be here. And I called her the other day, and I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "Dad, it's Sunday. I'm at Aretha's." I said, "Of course you're at Aretha's." And so I've always loved this place. One, it's so cool. It's so hip
yeah,
inside. It sounds good. Um, you're here. You're always so like hospitable to the musicians, and you understand intimately how this all
mm-hmm.
works, right? You're a musician yourself, so and you play gigs yourself, so like it's always low stress playing here, and it's just always a good time. And it's hip historical room. It's a
Yeah,
gem, you know.
yeah. It's
So
a beautiful room. Sounds
yeah,
fantastic.
it's an absolute treasure.
Yeah,
So yeah, every time I get a call, you call me for something, or music call is always a gig I look forward to, always. So I guess my biggest memory, or my biggest cafe chronicle, is like witnessing my daughter experiencing the cafe, being part of the community that comes to the cafe on a
yeah,
Sunday, seeing her play with like my friends,
yeah,
and immersing herself in this, this really vibrant, wonderful jazz community that Detroit has. So yeah, I'm tickled. So
oh, that's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
she
glad we
loves.
can, provide that space.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
She loves it here. So do I. So
yeah. All right. So yeah, you got to come back.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we'll have the DOCD
Yeah, that's I'm
play.
thinking about
All
that
right.
too. Yeah. I
Yeah.
yeah, would love to bring that band here too. So
Okay. So what? March 22nd,
March
Penn
22nd at the
Theater.
Penn Theater. Yep.
Okay.
And
And what's
then
the date and location of the other?
the other thing is an evening with the composer, and that's gonna have DOCD there too. Gonna
Okay.
bring them, and that's May 16th in the evening at the Charles Wright Museum.
Okay.
So those
So what we didn't really talk about that. What is an evening with the composer?
so um, I'll play some tunes, and then I'll talk about how I've the things that I've written for TV and movies, and how the process works, and what a composer actually does,
Mm.
and how my workflow happens, and then I think it's going to be a big Q&A session. So
Okay. And then the band will play somewhere in there.
I'll I think I'll say something like, all right, I wrote this tune about Michigan Central Station, so, and I'll describe and then we'll play the tune, and then maybe
Hmm.
talk about, like, okay, as a composer, did I illustrate that emotion, or did you feel something else, or did you find it completely boring, or
Yeah.
so it'll be a little bit of playing, a little bit of talking, a little bit of questions.
All right. Is this part of a series or is this like something that
This is
they?
this is part of the composer laureates thing,
Okay.
like
Do they have like a night with the poet,
yeah,
or
they've done
they
all.
do
I
that?
think they've
Okay.
done both of those already. So
At Charles, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think at Charles, right? So
Okay.
yeah, but the composer laureate stuff, there's somebody's doing something all the time. It's a real interesting
Yeah.
program. So if you're interested in Detroit history and the arts in Detroit, keep tabs on what they're doing because it's
Yeah.
pretty
I
neat.
want to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. This is fun.
I think we should grab a couple acoustic guitars and head down to Main Street in Plymouth.
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, Patrick Prouty, thank you so much for doing this again.